I was born a slave in Hanover County, Virginia, and no one taking really any interest in my welfare and my well-being. I became very wicked and remained so to the age of 19, where I was singularly led to a religious meeting held by the Baptists. They were humble kind of folks. When I was awakened to the sense of my condition from these words dropped from a humble minister: the wicked have no hope beyond the grave, but the righteous have a hope beyond Jordan cold stream. And when they cross Jordan, they go home to a God of pity, to a God of compassion, to a God of sovereign mercy. These words broke up a deep in my soul and actually changed my mind. So now I can say this glorious Savior is mine. But one other, by land or sea, by day or night, the Savior is mine. 40-odd years I go on this way. And I want to let you know that my master had no knowledge of religion or God. And he thought my religion was a fancy. And he swore that he could and would whip it out of me. So he take me and he tie me up. And he scourged me to the point of not feeling my flesh. Then he look at me and say, "Preach to me." And at the time, I couldn't say no. But the Lord gave me strength and reminded me that I could suffer patiently for him. Which he gave me strength to answer him in this manner: "You have whipped all fear out of me, and I'm not afraid of you no more. You could take a gun and shoot me or kill me. It mean nothing. And if he let you take this bruised body, I feel it's not worth it." After that answer, that took my master's strength away. And so he untied me and let me off. Gave me confidence to speak to both black and white folks, good and bad. But come along, the church decided they want me to join. So I couldn't do it because in Virginia, it's against the law to join any place without the master's consent. So the master wrote these words: "I'd rather the church," how he put it, "I'd rather the church judge for herself. But if there is a Christian, old time is it." So now I feel like I gotta preach the word, and I'm not sure what to say. I slave. So the Lord let me know that I put the words in your mouth and what to say. Go out about the highways and byways and preach the word. But Lord, I'm afraid. Lo, I will be with you always, even to the end of the earth. Because of that, I have confidence to go out and preach. But before I do, I ask him, promised to keep me. And he said he would. And I promise him I'll do the best I can when I do. And from this point on, for him, I do the best I can. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Got a crowd for you there, sister.
I see. My name is Eustace Hodges. I don't know when I was born nor what, but at first, Mammy and me belonged to a McGee here in Wake County. Mammy worked in the fields then, ditching and such, even plowing some when she belonged to McGee. But he sold us to a Mr. Rufus Jones. My dad is still long to him, but at the close of the war, he come on over to the Jones plantation and he took up the name of Jones along with us. Moss Rufus was good on Moss McGee, they said. He given us more to eat and to wear. Ain't made us work so hard, never. Nah, we had our work to do, of course. But Mammy ain't had to ditch and to plow no more. She worked in the house then. And none of the women done men's work. Cause I don't know how you could work so hard and have 11 children at the same time. She used to have a baby one day and be in the field the next when she belonged to McGee. But at Moss Rufus, she stayed in bed several days and had a doctor. Moss Rufus used to let us go have Saturday evening off to go into town or fishing or swimming. But I remember one day somebody in town had a fussing with Moss Rufus about letting his niggas run loose in the town, and well, out of that, he had to have him an overseer in town to see about his niggas. I got a whooping once for punching out the eyes on a frog. Miss Sally gave it to me, along with a lecture about being kind to dumb brutes. But I ain't never seen where a frog am a brute yet. And I heard plenty about the Yankees. But I ain't heard how they was gonna take even our bread. Miss Sally wasn't prepared for it, but she told them where to go. Then she went on to bed sick. I was sorry for Miss Sally, that I was. When news of the surrender come, why Miss Sally cried some more. She didn't want Mammy to go. So Moss Rufus told us we could stay on. Now they said Mr. McGee run his niggas off in the place with a brush broom that day. We stayed on the Jones plantation till 1898 when Paul died. I had married a fella the name of Charlie Hodges, what lived on a nearby plantation, and we were staying there with Ma and Pa. We come on to Raleigh then. And after several years, Mammy come on over here too. You can find her over on Cannon Street. But I tell you, she's pretty puny since her stroke. Cindy, I got some people for you.
Afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
My name is Cindy Bonner, and I was emancipated in Pickensville, Alabama. Hear that whistle? Of course. There wasn't no railroad in them days. And the only way that folks had traveling about was the steamboat, which passed by every week, and the stagecoach most twice a week. Lawson, man, them was the days and many the times after my daddy, whose name was Green Bonner, heard that steamboat below Pickensville, he would hitch up the mules to the wagon and follow Master John on horseback down to the landing to fetch back the supply of sugar and coffee and plow tools that was needed on the plantation. They would take me along with them to hold the mules and watch the wagons, and it was a regular picnic to me to see the big shiny boat and watch the goings on. Master John Bonner sure did depend on my daddy The massa paid $1,000 greenback for him down to Mobile. Enough greenbacks to wrap him up in, he said, so he named him Green Bonner. Yes, sir, we was all Baptists, the deep water kind. And every Sunday, they would pile us into the wagon and pull out bright and early for Big Creek Church. Down on the Carrollton Road, everybody fetched a big basket of grub and sakes alive. Such a dinner you never did see. All spread out on the grassy road by the old graveyard. Most all the quiet white folks belonged to Big Creek. And when her slaves got shown enough religion, they would have them join Big Creek and be baptized at the swimming hole. Some of the niggas, though, wanna have their own meetings. But child, them niggas get happy and they get to shouting all over the meadow where they built the brush arbor. Master John quick put a stop to that. He said, if you are going to sing and preach, you must turn the wash pot bottom up, meaning no shouting. Them Baptists at Big Creek was so tight with their rules too. They would turn you out show if you drank too much corn liquor, dance or cuss. Master John had a big fine bird dog. She was a mammy dog. And one day, she found 6 pups out in the harness house. They was mostly our girl pups, and Master was gonna drown them. So, I asked him to give them to me. Pretty soon, the missus sent me down to the post office, and I put my pups in the basket, and I took them with me. Long come Dr. Lyles, where I was sitting, and he said, you want to sell them pups in it? I told him, Then he asked me what nomination they was. I told him they was Methodist dogs. He ain't say no more. About a week after that, old missus sent me down to the post office again, and I took my basket of cups with me. Sure enough, here come Dr. Lyles. And he said, Sidney, I see you still ain't sold them pups. I said, no, sir. He asked me again what nomination they belong to. I told him they was Baptist dogs. He said, how come? Last time you told me them was Methodist. Bless God, it looked like he had me. But I said, yes, sir. But you see, doctor, they got their eyes open since then. He just laughed and going down to his newspaper office. How old is I? Lord child, I don't know. My mama say I was 15-year-old time of the surrender. I remembers that mighty well. The massa called all the niggas around him down at the big house. And he said, you all is just as free as I is. I ain't your massa no more. I tried to be good to you and takes care of all of you. Now, you want to stay? He's all welcome, and we all work together to make a living somehow. If you don't want to stay, dumb that go. We just have to root, pig, or die. Some stayed, some left. My daddy stayed with Master John, but he was called home to glory. And now, it's all gone but Sidney. And I was just here waiting for him to call me. Y'all come on over here and let my friend tell you her story.
I was born before the war. I was about 8 years old when them Yankee men come through. My mammy and pappy, Hattie and Jim Jeffries, belonged to Mars Frank Jeffries. Mars Frank was from Mississippi, but when I was born, him, Miss Mary Jane, was from Lewisburg, North Carolina. They had to have a big plantation. Don't know how many niggas. Mars Frank was good to his niggas, except he worked real hard on half ration, but he didn't believe in all the time beating them and selling them. My pappy worked in the stables. He was an ever good horseman. But my mammy, she worked in the big house with Miss Mary Jane. My mammy worked in the weaving room. I could see her sitting at that weaving machine, hear the sounds of the pedals popping, she treading with her feet. My mammy was an ever good weaver. I stayed around the big house picking up chips, sweeping the yard, doing things such as that. But that Miss Mary Jane, She was quick with the whip, and she had black eyes that snap, and you see them every time. She could turn her head around so quick she catch you every time you try to steal a lump of sugar. I like Mars Frank better than a lot Miss Mary Jane. All us chillin' call him Big Pappy. Every time he went to Raleigh, he'd bring us niggas back some candy. Went to Raleigh about twice a year. Raleigh was ever far from the plantation, I think about 60 miles. Took him about 3 days to take the trip. Day to get there, day to stay in town, then the day to get back. Get in about sundown, but if he take his horse and carriage, then he get in before the sundown. But that Mars Frank, he ain't go to no walk. That man was too old. He was too old. But Mars Frank saw them Yankees coming town. Mars Frank saw them blue coats coming. He'd run in the house and get his gun. Then I said them Yankees was on horses. I ain't never seen so many men. They was thick as hornets coming down the road. They was as thick as ever. And then they come up to the house. Then they take their horses and tie them on the side panel around by the yard. When they come up to the house, they saw Mars Frank with that gun leveled at them. Them Yankees got real mad. Time Mars Frank shot one of them bully Yankees. Then they took the gun from him, told him to put his hands up. Then they took a rope and tied his hands up and threw him down on the ground on the side of the yard. Told him that if he moved, that they was gonna shoot him. Then they come into the house. Now I was scared about to death. So I run in the kitchen and got a butcher knife. When them Yankees wasn't looking, I tried to cut the rope and set Mars Frank free. But then that blue devil don't come running. Tell him, hey, what you doing, you black brat? You stink a little alligator bait? Then he gonna snatch the knife from me, tell me to stick out my tongue, that he was gonna cut it off. I let out a yell and ran right on the side of that house. I sure did. I saw some of them Yankees. They was in the smokehouse getting the meats. Some of them Yankees was in the stables getting the horses. They even took the silver and things. I even saw them take the silver pitcher in a teapot and put it in their bag. They took the knives and the forks and the candles and the platters that was on the side of the bar. They even went into the parlor and stole the gold props that belonged to Miss Mary Jane grandmammy. Then they even took all the jewelry out of Miss Mary Jane box. Then they go up to Miss Mary Jane and she look at them with them black eyes that snap. And they took the rings off her finger. They took the that gold bracelet. They even took the ruby earrings out her ear and the gold comb out her head. About that time, I quit peeping out the window and was standing on the side of the house when all them Yankee men come out with all that stuff that they was going on. Mars Frank still sitting on the floor with his hand tied, couldn't do nothing. About that time, I saw all them bee gums in the yard. It was a whole lot of bee gums. And as little as I was, I had a notion. So I runs and got me a stick and I turned every one of them bee gums over. And I took that stick and I stirred them bee gums up. Them Yankees was mad, so they was so mad I could smell them pissing. And them bees, you ain't never seen no bees like that. They was swarming all over the place. And them bees sailed into them Yankees like bullets, one madder than the other. Then them bees lit up into them horses. They was running around like they was wild varmints. They sure was. Them horses broke them paddles in the side of the yard and were running down the road. They sure did. But they ain't compared to nothing what them Yankees done did. And every time them bees came, they gave them Yankees a pissing sting that they forgot about all that stuff that they came and stole off with. Then them Yankees gonna bust out cussing. But what bees care about cuss words? Them bees kept following after them Yankees after they run down that road. Them bees was right in the line with them. They go zoom in a zit, a zoom in a zit, and every time they zit, them Yankees went yelling. About that time them Yankees done ran off. Miss Mary Jane went and got a knife and cut the rope, set Mars Frank free. Then all that stuff that them Yankees left behind, they took it and buried it in the back. So when them Yankees come back, they couldn't find where it was. Then they turned to me and said, Adelie, if it hadn't been for you and them bee gums, they would have taken off everything fine we got. And you know what? We want to give you something to remember this day how you run them Yankees off. I sat back and I looked, and Miss Mary Jane took a gold ring off her finger and put it on mine. And I have been wearing it ever since. And Y'all go ahead on to y'all next day. Now, thank you for listening to my story. Y'all have a good on day now.